Man, oh man. I don't know how to start this right here. I'm gonna just do like this. Thanks for coming to see us, Angel G, for coming on Changing Jewel Set.
Absolutely.
Thanks for
Thank you
coming
for
on
having
in.
me. I'm grateful. I haven't seen a lot of femininity on this sofa, so I'm happy to be
Hey,
here.
look, so hey, the first step is a big step, right? You know what I'm saying? The first time we even start, I don't even want to tell the people right now it's about 8 cars out there, and then a UFO came out there, right? A UFO just landed, it just got in parked. This opened up and they just got out. But I ain't gonna put it out there because I don't want y'all run up on them when
This
she
how
out the
rumors
mall.
get started.
Yeah. Y'all want started, but there's a UFO out there. I'm just gonna say that, man. Angel, tell us about you. Where you from? Where you grew up at?
I'm from uptown. I grew up born and raised in DC. DC public schools graduate, went to Howard University twice. I've been in this city my whole life.
Mm.
This city raised me,
Whole
and I
life.
love it here.
Right. Well, you ask somebody from DC where they from.
Yeah.
If somebody from, say, Southeast, they say, I'm from Bury Farms. He says, somebody from North, I'm from Langston. Well, uptown, all I gotta say, I'm from uptown first. And then they get a neighborhood. What's that
I
about,
mean,
man?
because everybody doesn't make good decisions,
Oh, yeah.
right? And so we just want to make it known
Okay.
that we come from a group of people who made good decisions, right? Like
Okay.
our family put us in the right place at the right time,
Right here.
and we're grateful
So
for
you ain't
it.
see no free cheese up there?
I don't know why you want to go back.
No.
We're in much different places now in our lives.
Angel, let's start from the beginning. I know you was into the educational system and all that. Also, you did a lot of work in the city. Matter of fact, you don't think I remember, I used that piece of Horlicks
I was.
and all that, right?
Yeah.
And you and the other little young, I seen a
My
picture with
ear.
that. Yeah, I seen,
Yeah.
man, I remember hearing a piece of Horlicks.
Yeah.
It was real quiet, write the little notes down and all that, right? Yeah, so what made you get into that type of work?
So I always wanted to do youth violence intervention work because it felt like I needed to be the person that I wish my brothers or my parents would have been able to engage with, and that could have possibly curtailed their lives, right? Like I have two brothers serving life in prison. My mother and father have engaged with the criminal justice system. So I'm the only person in my immediate family that has not been to prison. And so I always wondered, like, what if they had met some really good people that genuinely cared about them? Could that possibly have changed their trajectory? And I didn't know, but I knew that if I could put myself in position to possibly be that person, that I might change a young person's life.
Both of them got life, both of your brothers.
Yes.
When you say life, no dates.
My little brother has a 2045 release date, right?
Life.
My oldest brother has life, like no release
Yeah,
date.
both of them. Damn, I'm sorry to hear that.
Absolutely. Thank you.
How does that impact you when you talk to them on the phone or go see them?
It's hard, right? And I think for so long, it was so difficult to talk to my brothers about anything of substance because my life was on a upward trajectory, right? Like I made some pretty good decisions, like I was doing well for myself, but I never wanted to share that with my brothers. Like they would say like, hey, we heard this and we heard you doing that. And I'd just be like, yeah, okay. And I didn't want to go into detail because it felt like, one, the phone calls are short, right? We know that. And two, it felt like I'm bragging and you're not in a space to celebrate. And so it always hurt me to have to go into detail with my brothers about the successes that I had. Until recently, honest, my little brother came to me and was just like, we need to hear this. Like we living through you. Like I need to know everything. Like I don't want to find out on the gram. I don't want to find out through other people what you're doing. And I was like, oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Like I never even thought to ask if they really wanted to hear it. I thought it was just kind of a nicety, right? Like, hey, what's up? What you up to? I didn't know they genuinely needed the energy from me to know that I was doing well.
That's interesting. You took that perspective, and from I guess from a woman's standpoint, y'all always look for the current position, but no, nigga want to talk that shit, be locked up. You know what I'm saying, man? Look, man, my sister, man, yeah, y'all eating the spices out there.
And that's what happens now, right? Like
You know
they hear about it and I'm on news channels and things like that. And my brothers are excited. Like everybody's seeing me and everybody knows who I am and what I'm doing and the impact I've made. And now, of course, I used to teach at Oak Hill at the youth jail. And so some of my kids have gone on to the federal system and they meet my brothers and my brothers are like, yeah, you know, my Sally told me, or I met this dude that told me you taught him or you helped him. And I feel so grateful to know that, like, you know, while I'm not happy about the path that these men have now taken, but I made an impact on them enough that they wanted to share with my brother that I touched them.
You got a unique perspective on a lot of things, and the top we talking about now. You got brothers' life in prison. You work in the Oak Hill system. You did at-risk work on the streets.
Yeah.
Give me a perspective of what's going on now. A lot of the carjacking, a lot of the crime we seeing, because a lot of people who doesn't see the side you seen they have a lot of opinions about what's going on.
Yeah.
Can you enlighten your thoughts of what's going on?
So I am an abolitionist, right? Like
Mhm.
I don't even believe that the criminal justice system in the way that it exists should exist.
Mm.
If it were up to me, I'd open, like Nas said, I'd open every cell in Attica, send them to
Yeah,
Africa,
Africa,
right?
yeah,
Like that's what I would do if it were up to
right.
me. So I don't believe in it. I
Right.
believe the prison systems are obsolete. I follow kind of teachings of Angela Davis and some of our other freedom fighters.
Mm.
So I'm never going to be down with sending kids to prison at all. I don't even want to see men go to prison.
Right.
But I feel like, you know, the media does a really good job. The DC government does a really good job of scaring people into thinking that they need to be tougher on crime, right? And that's what happened in the 80s. And we got these ridiculous laws and, you know, crime bills and things that sent so many of our men to prison for so long. And I feel like we're about to repeat that if someone doesn't come along with some sense to help people humanize these children. Like these are kids. And the only reason that they're doing this stuff is because they feel like they have no other choice. And poverty literally changes your brain.
Right.
Like my degree's in psychology, right? Like I know the neurology of it, and poverty changes your brain. And so we can't expect people, especially kids who are poor, to make quote unquote sane and sound decisions. And so for me, I look at it through the lens of someone who genuinely wants to see their circumstance change and not simply see them punished.
Okay. Let's take for a second that you're not talking to Curtbone, you're talking to Mr. White that just came to move to DC, and my car got carjacked. And I'm saying, Miss Angel, so if you're not recommending to go to jail, what would you recommend to happen when they doing the things they doing?
First, I recommended you just call your insurance company because you're going to be all right, Mr. White.
Okay.
And then for these kids, let's figure out what's going on with these kids and get them some intensive case management.
Right.
Let's figure out how to get them in some paid job training programs, get them some mentors that they can really relate to and not just relate to, but that can also help elevate them, right? I feel like a lot of times from my time in working with Peaceaholics and other youth development agencies, I feel like we're so busy trying to find mentors and advocates that connect with the kids that we don't realize that we need people that can actually take the kids to the next level. Like I don't need you to just be able to play basketball and play video games with them. That's connectivity.
Right.
I get that.
Right.
But we need some people who are going to teach these kids and show these kids what the next step of their lives can look like if they took it.
Right. You was right. You know, I was going to ask you that because you was ready for that right there. You ready for that
wasn't.
right there. Well, that's good. That's just mean, you know, you believe in what you believe in, and you know, you're strong on that, right? You also went to the historical Howard University.
I did.
How was that? I mean, you know, because to me, the Howard University, like
the Mecca.
Another world, right? Yeah.
It is. And it's so crazy, right? Like being from DC, you think that staying at Howard and going to a school on Georgia Avenue will feel like DC. And it does not feel like DC. Like when you step onto campus, you really feel like you are away from home because there aren't a lot of DC natives on campus, right? Most of the people there are from Cali and New York and all over the country. So it feels good. But the thing I love most about Howard, and I think that any HBCU grad could appreciate, is that it feels like you are engulfed in Black excellence, right? In a way that I can't imagine you feel at a predominantly white institution because you have Black people in silos, right? At a white institution, there are some Black excellent people on campus, but at Howard, it's like everybody, your professors, all of your, you know, your former, I mean, your students that you're in class with, they're all amazing. And it just feels like anything is possible.
Right, right. And it's funny that you said it because I always never been on, obviously never to Howard, but I always looked at Howard, even though there's a lot of people all over the country, I always say to my New York friend, I'd be like, man, that's like a 6-barrel. Because it's like, I don't know why I feel that way, but I say, man, that's like a 6-barrel because everything they reference, like, yeah, we was down in D.C. I say, you was in Howard or you was in D.C.? No, the Capitol Party puffing. I said, you was down Howard, right? Yeah. So yes, I always be, you know, feeling like that, right? You went to a hell of a high school now, Banneker.
I did.
You had to be getting them books.
I did. It was an interesting experience at Banneker, right? Like most people, I think, who went to Banneker, their parents wanted them to go to Banneker, right? So it's a high-performing high school.
You got to pass some tests, though, too.
You got to go pass some tests to get in. There's an interview process to get into the school. For me, I wanted to go to Banneker because my friends were going. Like I typically just follow my friends at that age. And I'm grateful that I have friends who were doing the right thing. But I also was raised in a house full of men. I was raised with all uncles, brothers, my grandfather, you know, and just my grandmother. And so my uncles were also very clear. They're like, you ain't going to Coolidge. Like that was the neighborhood school. But they're like, you're not going to Coolidge, so what you about to do? Yeah. And so it was like, I don't know, I'm going to follow, Sydney and them to, the Banneker. I'm going to just follow them and do what they did. And so I did the application. Like I told my grandmother she needed to show up for me and be there at this day and this time. Like it wasn't her pushing me in that direction. She was really willing to let me do whatever I wanted to do, but I knew that I needed to do something that the friends who had both parents in the house were doing, because I knew like she's probably making the right decision. Like these are like the Cosbys.
Exactly. Who you get this style from? Because every time I see you, you like Phil Jack. You don't use no timeouts. I mean, what's going on? Where you get this style from? And I don't want to hear this uptown stuff, because everybody uptown ain't fly there. Where you get this style from now?
I don't know. I think I've always been like a rule breaker. Right? Ooh, I've always wanted to be a rule breaker. Right. Even when we were in Banneker in high school, they had a dress code. I broke it.
Right, yeah.
We used to have this thing called a winter ball every year where the women had to wear, or the girls had to wear dresses and the boys would wear suits. And I showed up to my first winter ball in leather pants. And they didn't like it, but I got in.
Yeah,
so it's like I've always just had this notion that like I'm going to show up how I show up, and whatever I feel like wearing, like I'll wear this to Target. Like it doesn't matter where I'm going. I feel like you should put on what feels good to you.
Right. Where we get the hat from? I got to have the hat.
The hats are handmade by a woman, Ashaka Givens, out of New York. She makes these for me.
Shout out Shaka. Curtbone need one. Yeah, I need one, right? A little joint like that, right? Boy style, right? But your father and uncle, they knew what they knew, though. That's unique that they was, of course, they've been around and seen that, right? Sure. Because it was a lot of cars up Coolidge and Roosevelt Road and Dunbar with the hazard lights on. You know what I'm saying? But, you know what I'm saying? Well, them girls down there, they was doing pickups and drive-bys, right? And that joint, right? So you had to run with Peace of Harlem, which people who don't around the country don't know that's like a organization that's on, you can give them the definition.
Yeah, so Peaceaholics was a violence intervention organization. We mainly targeted like the most notorious crews in DC, and we would go into those neighborhoods and try to squash beefs, provide case management, outreach services. I actually came to Peaceaholics doing some outreach, but I mainly came to start a GED program for them. They had never had a GED program, so I started it, ran it, taught it to get some of the young men to get their GED while I was working for the organization.
Okay, and then a lot of your confidence, and you just so sure of yourself, even pre-Spice Girl and to Spice Girl, right? Do you relate that to your father and uncles and them, or just something that's in you?
Definitely not my father.
Okay.
But no, I think my uncles, like being raised by men, I think makes you a different type of woman, right? Like I've seen how men can be in all its glory and all its detriment. Like I've seen both sides of it. And my uncles love me like a sister, right? So I always felt love from a man. So I wasn't ever looking for love from a man, right? Like I was surrounded by nothing but men who loved me deeply. And even now, from the hoods that I've worked into, my boys from Oak Hill, my family from First and Kennedy, like they protect me. And so I had no choice but to feel confident that I was safe. And I think when women feel safe, we feel sexy.
Right.
And so there was something about that safety and security that always made me feel confident that like I can do whatever I want to do, wear what I want to wear, go in any hood, like do anything.
Right. Yeah, that's unique. So when did Angel knew that she wanted to be an entrepreneur?
I didn't. It was an accident.
Accident?
Yeah, like I didn't, I've told the story of opening the Spice Suite where I like ran, walked down the street and saw this random for lease sign in a window and decided that I would call and inquire about the price of the rent. And when I inquired, the landlord wanted to know what I would do with the space. And so I randomly just said a spice shop just to get him to engage in a conversation about numbers with me. And then that was almost 8 years ago. So I didn't know I wanted to do that then. And then, a year or so ago, I bought the property that I'm in now and redeveloped it into a mini strip mall.
And that's an uptown skill set right there, because y'all got the gift of gab, right? I've
heard that before.
So that's us going to say, right? So you getting the spices. What was the first recent was because you've been open, I guess social and Google was out, but what made you step on the gas and stay right there, though? I know people try to talk you down on that, or you didn't share it with nobody, or what?
No, I shared it with people, and I feel like I shared it with the right people.
Mm.
I shared it with the people who would question me, but not try to talk me out of it.
Okay.
And it's so interesting because when I think about that too, I think about how grateful I am that I have a tribe of friends who also believe that I can do anything. Right? I think we spend so much time talking about like haters and people in your group that don't support you and love you. Like my friends love me so much and see things in me that I don't see. So it's like I say an idea and they're like, girl, what about this? And I'm like, true. Right? Like I didn't even think I can go that hard, but they believe it for me. And so it starts to impact my own confidence and esteem and how I feel that I can go harder and bigger. Yeah.
Black and Forth.
Yes.
Explain that name.
So Black and Forth came about, I was doing interviews and early on I would talk about my business model where I have these Spice Girls. They're not singers. They're just Black women who have their own businesses and they sell their products at my store. And in exchange, they have a space to regularly pop up and sell their products. And I have folks who, quote unquote, work for me. So they work the register. And when I would do these early interviews, I would always describe it as me bartering. I would say I was bartering with Black women. And I got a call from the U.S. Department of Labor's legal department. And the guy was like, long story short, I heard you're bartering. We don't have anything on file that shows that you're bartering. That's a legal agreement between the IRS and your company. And I was like, oh, yeah, no, April Fools. I lied. I'm not bartering because I don't want to owe the IRS no money. I don't know what y'all talking about. Like, cut it. Let's just act like I didn't say that. And so he was like, you know what? I'm not trying to trip you up. Like, just tell me what you're doing. And so I told him what I was doing. And he was like, well, there, I think 4 or 5 different legal employment types as defined by the Department of Labor. And what you're doing doesn't fit in any. He's like, and I've been here a really long time and I've actually never heard of your business model. And at that point I was like, well, I need to coin it. Like I need to own it because I feel like if nobody knows about it, I need to claim ownership of it so that I can replicate it. And so I started to kind of internally call my model of going back and forth with Black business owners, Black and Forth. And I never said it out loud really because I hadn't owned it yet, right? Like until the ink dried on that little R with the circle around it to mean that I own that trademark, I was like, I'm gonna just keep it close. But when last year, when I decided to purchase a commercial property, I had to develop a real estate holding company. And I decided to name that real estate holding company Black and Forth. And then when DC zoned what I built as a strip mall, I had to name it something. And so I decided to name the strip mall Black and Forth. And so now Black and Forth means so many things.
Right.
Yeah.
Hey, that's unique. So you kind of like, you just got a good feel for stuff and you just get a feeling of power when you just push on it. And
regular uptown stuff.
Well, United States get used to this. Whenever you see right from uptown DC, right? So what mistakes you made in the beginning that you look back on?
I don't know that I've made a lot of mistakes in business, right? And I've honestly just become comfortable saying that because people will ask me that in interviews and I always felt like I had to say something because nobody's journey is perfect.
Right.
And I didn't want to feel, seem arrogant. But I think what I realized too is that when you are doing things in alignment and you know how to pivot and you know how to implement systems, then the mistakes are so minute that they don't impact you in a way that they feel, like you are, like it's a struggle, right? Like there haven't been any real struggles. There's some little things that I've done, some spices I ain't get across the border. There's some, there's some things that I would have done differently. Some Spice Girls that I bought on that I probably kept a little longer than I should have, but nothing that was so impactful that it changed the course of my business. And I'm grateful for that. I think it means that I'm in the right place and doing what I'm supposed to do. And I make good decisions. And that's something that I've owned that I should be proud of and not shy away from or feel like I'm bragging when I say it, because I think other business owners need to hear that other business owners can go on their journey without a whole lot of hiccups, right? We don't have to kiss a bunch of frogs first.
Right. Yeah. Why is it important to you to highlight women entrepreneurs?
Because if not us, then who?
You don't think the men give y'all enough love?
Oh, absolutely. I love Black men deeply. And I think that you guys love us. No, I love Black men deeply. Okay. And I think you guys love us too, but I think it is important for me to highlight Black women in particular because there's so many myths about us.
Right.
That we're catty and we don't work well together and we don't support each other. And it is important to me to dispel that myth because I'm very clear that Black women are the people who have helped to grow my business. They are 90% of my customer base. And so I owe that to us to support us at every step of my business. Every time my business elevates, I need to bring more of us along.
Right. Because you spoke earlier, you said that you're a big fan of Angela Davis. Yeah. When did that start? Cause I feel her inspiration when you talk. Yeah. When did that start?
I saw her speak when I was at Howard. She came to speak about her book, Our Prison System's Obsolete. Should the prison systems be obsolete? And when she spoke, she was supposed to speak for maybe like an hour and a half, and she ended up staying for hours. And it felt like a rally. Like it was supposed to be an author talk, but it just felt so inspirational. And at that time, you know, both of my brothers had just gotten locked up. They hadn't been sentenced yet. And so I was really on this like go hard against the criminal justice system thing. You know, I thought I was going to leave school and become a criminal psychologist. Like I just had all these plans for my life, and hearing her kind of sparked that for me because she asked the questions that people don't often ask. Like at that time in my life, I hadn't heard people talking about abolishing the criminal justice system. We talked about reform, but I'm like, I'm not here for reform. I'm here for dismantling it altogether. And to hear her speak so adamantly and so clearly and beautifully about it, I felt like I found my tribe.
That's crazy. And you said abolishing, and you support what you say. Because some people say stuff and they can't support their theory of what they say, because that's how I feel. You know what I'm saying? But they really don't really stand behind, what they're saying. So what do angels say to a young lady that's young, 19 to 21? They want to do a business, but they don't have that same confidence. They ain't have that support you have, your strong uncles and all that. What you tell them?
My business advice has been the same for 7.5 years. Okay. Start now, perfect later. And I say that because there have been so many iterations of the Spice Suite. Right. My bottles, my labels, my business journey has looked so different year to year because I've had to make changes. But I'm grateful that the lack of perfection didn't keep me from starting, right? I think sometimes we get in our own heads and we feel like I'm going to start as soon as I have the perfect logo and the perfect website and this and that, and I get this many Instagram followers, then I'm going to announce it. And the reality is it's never going to be perfect. Like that's an illusion. We just got to start with what we have and can commit to continuing to grow the business. That's all we can do.
Right. Yeah. The word on the street that you well traveled.
The streets be lying.
No. They say, look, when you go to the airport, they won't even see your face on the passport. It just stamps. It just stamps everywhere, right? Give me, how many countries you been to?
About 37 or 38.
Repeat that one more time, baby. You went to how many countries?
I've been to about 37 or 38 countries in the past 7.5 years.
I haven't been to 30 cities. You learn any language on the way?
I have not. I mean, my kids are bilingual. They speak Spanish. So I dabble in Spanish a little bit. But, I pick up phrases. But for the most part, money talks. So we start talking kilos of spices, and all of a sudden, people speak a little more English.
Right, yeah. That's funny. Do anything scare Angel? Anything?
What scares me is knowing that my brothers might die in prison.
That's deep. That's deep.
Yeah. That's deep. That scares me. Knowing that my mother might not ever be clean and experience a full life. But otherwise, that's it.
Damn, that's powerful. Yeah. That's powerful. I wasn't expecting that one. Shit, might gotta go timeout. What's the break, right? Lord. So, who are some of Angel's mentors?
I don't have formal mentors, right? Okay. And I recognize that mentorship in its formal, technical capacity is like a real job, right? To have somebody be your mentor is like a full-time thing. It's a commitment. So while I don't have formal mentors, I have friends that I learn from. And I would like to think that our relationships and that mentorship between us is reciprocal, that I'm learning from them and they're learning from me. So nobody formally, but I do have some friends that I learn a lot from, that I go to. I have certain group chats I go to for business things, and certain group chats I go to for relational things, and, funny things, and all the things. And all of those matter. I need all of them. I need all of my friends in the ways that they show up for me, and I hope that I show up for them.
Right. And you spoke a lot from the mentor and stuff, because people don't understand when you take that road on, it's not a road, it's not a retirement road. You know what I'm saying? Even when you're doing the work files with the mentor with the youth, and it might be something where you're getting, residuals. And I'm like, I had to actually stop, because I love what I do, and I love the youth and adults. I'm saying they're adults now, but you have relationships your whole life, you know what I'm saying? You get more and more and more, and it's hard to not want to do the right thing. So I like that perspective on what you said on that, right? You and Tony Lewis Jr.
Yes, my brother.
Y'all started a movement the DC natives. Am I
Yes.
correct?
Yeah, we have so there's a holiday, DC Natives Day, that we had kind of in our honor for the work that we've done to highlight DC natives. But he and I also have a nonprofit together, DC or Nothing, where we work with men and women, mainly men who've been impacted by mass incarceration, and provide them with basically all the services that they would need to re-enter successfully.
Okay. That's good. Have anybody ever broke Angel heart coming up in school and thing? Cause I want to hear his name. Give him a shout out, cause you go hard. You in the paper, good hard though. Cause you tight when you broke your heart. You're like, I'm all right. I'm cool and leave. I'll go home and cry.
You don't let them know. Girls don't cry. No, I've not had my heart broken. I've not had my heart broken. I might have broken hearts. But
you don't have broken heart. Okay.
I was raised by a bunch of men. Blame it on my uncles.
You do a lot for the community. You do a lot. You doing a lot of things as far as giving back. And I know a lot of people don't like to talk and speak on that. Yeah. But I want you to speak on some things you did as far as give back to the community, some organizations you might have helped, and some movements.
Yeah, so I think one of the biggest things, I mean, outside of just the Spice Suite opening our doors to Black business owners to do free pop-up shops, we've hosted thousands of free pop-up shops in the 7.5 years I've been in business, to allow folks to literally just come, set up, sell their products. Whatever money you make, you take with you. There's no money exchange between us at all, no fine print. One of the things that I do now that I'm most excited about is what we call Community Business School. And the premise behind Community Business School is that I think we have enough genius in our community to grow our community. So I call them my friends first, who are experts in everything from commercial real estate to branding, marketing, to come in and teach these classes to other Black people who want to grow their businesses. And so that is my way of like paying it forward. And it's, the premise is like, if each one teach one was a business model, then mine would be it.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. And so I know it, how like I guess that Beyonce, she called like her fall like the Beehive. What's yours? You got one?
We don't have a name.
You don't got one? You got a lot of subscribers.
We do.
You got to cover the name. You got to cover the name. Yeah. You don't have one. Okay.
We got to come up with one. Tell me, you give me some ideas.
I'm trying to think of something because I don't want to just say Spice Girls, but
right, we need something for everybody.
For everybody, right?
Yeah, for everybody. We don't have to come up with a name.
For everybody. Yeah. For everybody. Okay. I'm going to say some names. I want you to just give me what you think about them. And I also, when you give me what you think about them, I want you to give me a name of a spice you sell that will relate to them.
Okay. All right. You showing off.
Yeah.
Okay.
Harriet Tubman.
Freedom fighter. The spice that I have that I think will relate to Harriet will be maybe Merlot sea salt. Right, because it's so unexpected, right? Okay. It's one of the spices when people come into the store and I tell them it's Merlot sea salt, and I'm like, no, like red wine sea salt, like that's what it is. They've never heard of it. It's never been done before. It's something that's like groundbreaking, but it's simple, right? And I feel like that's Harriet Tubman. Like what she did had never been done before, but it was simple. Like I'm a free y'all. Like it wasn't like this like outlandish idea. It was just something that people hadn't thought of before. They weren't used to it, but when the ones who went along with it enjoyed it. And it's the same with that spice, right? The ones who decide to go take it home and try it fall in love with it.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah. Councilman Kenya McDuffie.
The homie.
McDuffie.
The homie.
Your homie?
Yeah. I mean, we got so much love for Councilman McDuffie.
He's a good guy.
Yeah. Like he it's a council member that I can call on, text anytime, any day, for anything, and he's ready to show up, right? Like if I text Councilmember McDuffie, it's all what you need. Like I'll tell him the issue, how you need me to show, what you need me, who you need me to call, how do you need me to show up for them. And so I'm forever grateful for his support for everything we've done for Tony and I through DC or Nothing. He's helped out tremendously, but also on the Spice Suite side in the ways that he showed up for me. A spice that I have that I would think of when I think about him is DC or Nothing. We actually have a spice called
spice called DC or Nothing?
We do.
Oh, okay. So what that tastes like? I heard the Merlot.
It gives uptown, rough and ready, crabs. We have Northeast Northeast, Uptown, Southeast, Southwest, and DC or nothing.
Okay.
See, we got something for everybody.
All right. And Rough and Ready, that ain't crossed the line. That's still on DC side.
Stay focused. That was ours.
Okay.
That was ours.
Hold on.
That was ours. Uptown put that on the map.
We gotta get it, man. I got Sophie's here too now. I got Sophie.
Nobody worried about Southeast.
We gotta stay on top of that joint, man. Tony Lewis Sr.
Oh God, just Pops. Like, just happy to see him home. Right. Like, I tell him all the time, I'm like, I'm just going to smile every time.
Right.
Just happy to see him home. You know, Tony worked and fought so hard to bring his dad home. Mm-hmm. It makes me so happy. Like, Tony and I, that was like the crux of our relationship, right? Mm-hmm. Like being children of incarcerated parents. That's how Tony and I really deeply connected about our work. Mm-hmm. Like for both of us, we recognized that this work wasn't charity, that this was obligatory. Like this was our assignment. This is what we're supposed to do. And so now that his dad is home, you know, I think he, you know, I'm one of the first people he calls, hey, Angel, Pop's coming home on Monday. I'm like, shut up. Like, you know, I literally called him on FaceTime and just cried. Like I didn't even say a single word, literally just cried on FaceTime with him. You know, when he finally came home, I text Tony and I was like, you can rest now, right? Like you've been fighting, like just rest, bro. Like just rest. And so I'm grateful. And I think the spice that I think of when I think about Tony Lewis Sr., I don't even know if I have one. I might need to create something for him. Like I can't even imagine, right? It would probably have to be something that is like just super flavorful, that feels fun and free and just exciting, right? Like I don't even know if I can capture that type of energy, but I'm gonna try, and I'm gonna ask him to name it with me.
You might can find stuff over the Arena on the Northeast side, some stuff over there. You might get some season.
I doubt it. There's not much inspiration over there. Not much inspiration. I've been on Hanover. It don't give exciting.
Hold on.
It gives hurry home, Angel.
The wit is back and forth located, the address. The address to back and forth
is located at 2201 Channing Street.
What part of DC?
It's in DC.
Northeast America, Northeast.
It's in Northeast only
because. Tony Lewis Jr. actually sent me a text when he was there. And I just get his text back simply like, man, you know, you got your dad home, right?
Yeah.
And it hit me when he told me, but you know, I know a lot of people come home, a lot of people I'm close to, but what really hit me when he did the show and we had him take his poster down, right? Favorite part. And I was just like, damn, like this shit is real. Like he home and the energy that he toured with, like it was just like, you know, it was a beautiful thing, man. And I tell Junior all the time, like his father had an incredible story of his own life, and he had one of his life. But I say that to me, that's a love story. Like
absolutely,
that's like if I see on the big screen, like I want to see this much of the streets. You know what I'm saying? I want to see that fight.
There's so much more.
I want to see that fight. Right? I want to see that fight. The late Mayor Muriel Byrne.
The OG, the best to do it.
Right.
Muriel could never.
Oh yeah.
Like, I mean, it's just like community centric, right? Like, be it as it may, all the things that people could say about Mayor Barry in the ways that he might not have done things in the most politically correct way. I don't know that the city's seen a mayor since then that genuinely loved the people of the city the way he did, and was a part of the city in the way that he was a part of the city. Like he made himself a part of the city, and created things that'll impact this city forever, right? And so that is something to say about his legacy. And for him, I think the spice would have to be the Southeast Spice.
Southeast Spice? Oh, yeah, Southeast Spice. Okay.
I mean, because that was home, right? Like that I mean, Southeast loved him so much. I think the city did, but there was a special love for him in that part of town. And so out of honor for his legacy and his love for the great Ward 8.
Because people think that he would have been born and raised, watch the way he fought and engraved here. Donna Simpson, another one that, but in D.C. that's so engraved them like that, right?
It's a city that's so easy to love.
That's unique. Why would you say that? I was curious, but that's a unique perspective. I agree with that.
Yeah.
And why you think that though?
I think because we embrace everybody,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like as cliquish as we can be, right? Because you can get into the quadrants, the uptown, northeast, southeast debate, but you can narrow it down to the actual crew and which street you're from.
Right.
But even still, we welcome folks from no matter where they are from, right? Like all over the country, we still welcome you into the city. And there's a place for you.
Right.
Like there's so much here. There's so much business here. There's so much opportunity here. So much excitement here that I don't feel like it's a space where we are one way, right? Like it's not country. It's not, it's everything. It's everything.
Yeah, I agree with that. Michelle Obama.
I'll say.
I want to hear this because you answered names. I want to see your perspective on this.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just say, she is politically correct, right? Like she is what a first lady is supposed to be, right? Like she played a role.
Right.
She is what she did. She understood the assignment.
Right.
I don't do politics a whole lot, like especially not on a national level. I'm very involved in local politics, but on a national level I feel like it's a whole lot of smoke and mirrors and inauthenticity. So I respect the image, she and Barack Obama. I think our kids needed to see it. Even some of us and our elders needed to see it to know that it was possible and just to change the trajectory of the country just for a little while. So it was beautiful to see, to see her as the first lady, to see a Black man in power, love a Black woman was revolutionary, right? So many times we see Black men in power and y'all choose other. So that was beautiful to see. So my spice for Michelle Obama would be Flavor and Yeah.
Flavor, yeah.
So we have a spice called Flavor and Yeah, and not because she was still fly.
Right, yeah, she's fly.
Like she was fly.
Right,
yeah,
okay.
Like while she was there, it was always cool to see what she had on.
Right.
I was always looking forward to her. She kept it cute in the White House.
Right, okay.
Yeah, we love that for her.
Okay. Who your favorite go-go band in DC? I think you're going to say, but let me hear. Who your favorite go-go band? Okay, I'm going to see.
I put your Gucci watch on.
Second nine, Chicago, let's rock. Okay.
I mean, I love Red Essence deeply. Yeah. Who I go see all the time, of course, none other than Backyard.
Yeah, Big G. I see.
None other than. I love G. I love G deeply and the entire band. And I appreciate them so much, right? And I think G and I speak about this often, that it's always so fun and honoring for me when I'm in the go-go and he calls out Spice Sweet, right? Like he knows my name,
right? But
it's not often that you're in the go-go and your business name is being Shannon, right? Like we hear KDY and we hear, 1300, like we hear so many, we hear all the street names, but you don't hear business names. And so for me, it's this like moment of like immense pride when I hear him say Spice Sweet, because that just means that my business is doing something for this city that he wants people to hear about and know about, and I do too.
Right. Yeah. When you going overseas buying the spices or when you was going over there and ordering it actually comes like in kilos and having kilos. Like how the measurements with that?
So typically at the spice souks, when I go to the spice souks and get the spices, they are loose spices and they're measured and weighed, and they are sold in kilos. So I buy them in kilos because I need so many of them. So I usually get several kilos of each spice.
What country got the best? Is it country had the best spices or?
Black people are the best to ever do anything, right? So Tanzania is a country that I love to go spice shopping, and I've been there twice. I love going spice shopping there. Egypt was a beautiful space to go spice shopping just because of all of its history, right? And it was almost like to read about this country in history books and read about the pyramids, and then my kids go with me, and to take my son, and my son is literally climbing the pyramids like he's at the playground, right? Like literally climbing them, and then there's some pyramids you can climb down into, like you climb down like underground, so they go under and over. So to be able to experience that was beautiful, but there's no place in the world like Africa.
Right, Africa. And you had you spent with all your kids, with your kids. How many kids you have? Two.
You're right. Don't say all. Like I got 10. Don't do that.
I said how many you got? Boy, girl, two. What you got?
A boy and a girl.
Boy and girl. Okay. What's the age?
4 and 12.
4 and 10. Oh,
4 and 12.
Okay.
Yeah, 4 and 12.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. let me give you the mic. You know what I'm saying? I got a
Okay.
little thing. Is there anything you want to ask the host? 3 questions or 4 questions or no questions?
That I want to ask the host.
Yeah.
I would want to know, like, what made you want to start to interview people? I feel like, I mean, you know a lot of people, right? And you
Right.
know their stories, and some of us have told. I've watched it, you know, the
Mhm.
shows.
Mhm.
Like a lot of us have told our stories before, but like, what do you bring to the conversation that you felt like you should be the one asking the questions?
I feel like what made me want to do it because what people was talking about, especially this area, like a lot of people that did interviews before I even started doing going on the show. Like first of all, my name was mentioned a lot in different
Mm,
people's story. A lot of it wasn't accurate. Some of it was accurate, right?
yeah,
And then the late John Thompson, you know, we spoke one day and he was just like, man, you might need to get to grab the mic and get to talking and speaking because you know people can control your narrative, right?
yeah,
So that was really the first reason what made me get in front of the camera doing interviews, period, right? But also that I feel like that with myself, when people they kind of put you in a category. So
yeah.
to me, I always feel like that they may be a one trick pony,
Mm,
right? And whatever position they thought that was. So
yeah,
I want, and it's a lot of people that got more to their story
yeah,
that people that meets the eye. So I
yeah,
was like, I want to get that opportunity for people to sit down. Like when people sit down, for example, we had a lot of guests. Like you have a Sean Branch, like people read his story from that one perspective, right?
yeah,
Had no idea that you're getting degrees and you're
yeah.
doing, different stuff. And we can go on to a lot of like Chico Beans, another uptown guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Comedian, like people, all you see, he bring you laughter and happy, but the pain he went through to push them into the
Yeah,
comedy. So
yeah,
I want people to see other sides, and I didn't want it to be just a typical thing. Because every time somebody sit down, it's just one topic, right?
yeah,
So I just want to get every people. That's why I call it changing jewels. Because
yeah,
when we talking, like it's jewels you dropping just in talking, just
yeah.
basic stuff, right? So I wanted jewels to be changed. That's what made me, get into that.
What would people be surprised to learn about you?
Um, that's a good question. That's a good question. Yeah.
Don't be stealing my questions
Yeah,
either.
yeah. Still a little joy. I mean that what they learn now, probably hearing me talk, that I've always been real spiritual. You know what I'm saying? Even the battlefield. You know what I'm saying? I just always been my grandmother and them, they kept me close to some type of spiritual situation. So I've always been real spiritual. I'm a mama's boy. I'm kind of raised by women, my mother,
Mhm.
my aunts, and
Yep.
the community, my teachers. So I think they will just because everybody put this tough guy shit,
Yeah,
on you, right? So I think they'll be surprised. No, I'm really, really a mama's boy, and I'd rather be a gentleman before I be anything else.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
So you trying to tell the ladies that you're single?
Okay. Yeah, they always try to get me drunk in here. They would try to get me drunk.
My last question. What do you want your legacy to be?
I want my legacy to be that anybody came in my contact with me at any point in my life, anything, they left a better person.
Mm,
Um, whatever I said, I stood behind it and did it. I mean, just on all aspects of life. And and I just want to leave. Like somebody asked me one time, I was getting interviewed, like what's your, go everybody, everybody want to leave generation wealth. I get that. You know what
yeah.
I'm saying? I definitely get that wholeheartedly, right? But I want to leave an impact that my spirit never really die. Like say like
Mhm.
Muhammad Ali and Martin Luther King, they never gonna die.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? No matter what your perspective on them, they're
Sure.
gonna live forever. So I want to have that impact. So dudes that and women that came from what similar backgrounds than me, they could be like, damn, I see the start off, but the finish was phenomenal, right?
Amazing.
So so I like I tell I say my goal is to be the last felony on my family tree.
Amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's that.
Well, thank you for coming on my show.
Yeah, yeah, man. So definitely, man. So we can talk forever. I really enjoy talking to you. I really respect your perspective. Always knew that you a little bit more about you probably thought because I'm peeping in. You know what I'm saying? It's my duty to see what's going on, right?
Yeah.
And I want to just keep commending you to keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you.
You're not only inspiring women, you're inspiring men. You know what I'm saying? Also, and you talk with such surety, and you say something real key earlier in the interview that just start.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Just start like that. Like it sounding simple,
Yeah.
but it's really big, right?
Yeah.
This is my year anniversary in doing this in I think April, and I was supposed to start 8 or 9 years ago, but I kept on saying, man, I stutter. I don't pronounce a lot of words.
Yeah.
I'm big. I lose little weight. So much bullshit that, But I just say, you know what, man? Just put the cameras on and just go. Tony Lewis Jr. was the first one.
Look at you.
Right? Yeah. Just go, right?
Congratulations.
Right. So anything that I didn't touch on that you want to touch on, anything you want to speak on in closing?
No, I think you did good.
Oh man,
yeah, I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
The teacher in me is proud of you.
Oh yeah. Thank you.
You
Thank
good.
you.
I think we talked about everything. I feel like my full story was told. I'm grateful to have shared space with you.
Right. Okay.
This was good.
Okay. What's any social media handles or anything anybody can get in touch with you that's not from the area?
Yeah, with on Instagram at the Spice Suite or at black.and.4th.
Okay. Thanks for coming.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Out the park, niggas know me. Curtbone, little homie. All days, yeah. Been a roll, yeah.
Thank you for watching Changing Jewels on Curtbone TV. If you like the jewels that we are dropping, subscribe, hit the notification, and share with some friends. And I'll see you on the next episode of Changing Jewels, Curtbone TV.